the friendship, of my brother Gary, who is also here. And on the dedication and teaching of my father, whom I regret is no longer with us, but who would have loved this event more than anyone else. My parents loved me through my childhood and guided me as I grew to become a young ball player with high goals for himself. Then I think about my coaches, my teammates, scouts, managers who discovered me, who encouraged me, who directed me, and who even stuck with me on occasions when others might have given up. My American Legion coach, George Haney, and my first Major League manager, Paul Richards. They believed in Brooks Robinson when others were still suspicious of his talents. They, among others, made my coming into baseball, as well as sticking with it, all the better. And then I count another blessing, one that players in today's game may never appreciate because of baseball's changing structure. That is Baltimore. That is Baltimore, and playing in that great city for my entire Major League career. I share this day today with my adopted hometown because the people of that town have supported Brooks Robinson not only on the good days, but also on the bad days. My career has been all the more meaningful because of the Oriole fans and friends, many of whom have made this trip to join me here today. I'd like to thank William Donald Schaefer, the greatest mayor that a city could have. And say, Baltimore, thank you very much. I love you all. Then there is the Baltimore Oriole organization, which over the past 29 years, from top to bottom, has proven itself to be the best. I might add that this day is extra special for me because I am being inducted with my fellow Arkansan George Carroll. George shared with me my first opening day as an Oriole back in 1957. I played third base and George played first base against the Washington Senators in Old Griffith Stadium in Washington, D.C. He is a man whom I admired both on and off the field. And then there is what I consider the greatest blessing of them all. Perhaps you will understand this when you recognize that although this is a great day at the Hall of Fame for me, my happiest moment here in Cooperstown occurred during my first visit to play in the Hall of Fame game exactly 22 years ago on July the 24th, 1961. I was playing third base, and during the fifth inning of that game, the public address announcer interrupted play to announce that my first son had just been born in Detroit, Michigan. For as I count my blessings, there is none greater than my family. My wife, Connie, who has been by my side. My wife, Connie, who has been by my side throughout my Major League career, and our four children, Brooks David, Christopher, Michael, and Diana. They have supported their father, and although they appreciated and sometimes enjoyed the glory of this game, they also suffered the sacrifice of a father who was seldom home. I have been blessed with their understanding, and this induction today is as much theirs as mine. I wish I could have been with them more. And Connie, I want to proclaim here today that no man could have come so far in this game for so long without the greatest blessing of them all, a dedicated, supportive, and loving wife. You have celebrated the happy moment with me, but more than that, you have been a tower of strength that allowed me to overcome adversity and to take advantage of baseball opportunity. I was there on the field, and I am here today because I had the ultimate, the best baseball wife. Thank you for everything, darling. Before I close, I want to thank the Baseball Writers of America that has been so kind to me during my playing days and bringing me here today. To thank the Commissioner on behalf of baseball and the Hall of Fame for this induction. And to thank all of those whom I have not mentioned for their guidance, for their friendship, and for their support over the years. So you can see, this is just not Brooks Robinson's induction into the Hall of Fame. It is a day on which men as fortunate as I am count their blessings, of which I have had so many. Throughout my career, I was committed to the goodness of this game. In fact, I feel my love for the game of baseball overrode everything else. I shall do what I can to continue to make this great game of baseball and this world finer and better. This is a day for my giving thanks, and this is a life from which I want to give back. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Scott Garceau, and I am honored to be with you as we celebrate the beautiful life of Brooks Robinson. And I'm confident we're all here for the same reason. We love Brooks Robinson. The player was extraordinary. Brooks, the person, was even better. How about a love story of over 60 years with beautiful Connie at his side? What a perfect match. The devoted father and grandfather and great-grandfather, and thanks to Brooks's children for sharing Dad with half the free world. We all had a piece of him. He led the league in character, kindness, and genuine consideration for others. I watched President Clinton act like an 8-year-old at his first big league game because he was in our broadcast booth up there at Camden Yards sitting next to his idol, Brooks Robinson. We were firmly informed prior to his visit that the president was on a strict schedule and had to leave after just a half inning. Well, he waved off his staff 3 or 4 times and instead stayed for almost 4 innings. The world could wait. The president was with Brooks. But most days it was just regular us, not presidents. The lady at the counter, the kid from down the block, the repairman, the truck driver, the teacher or nurse. Most Rose fans, all were Brooks fans. You could go from down on your luck to a big smile, suddenly feeling better about yourself after a splash of Brooks Robinson kindness. Earl Weaver didn't major in love, but he knew it when he saw it and said, "People love Brooks because he deserves to be loved." Amen, Earl. Our friends in Cooperstown were kind enough to lend us Brooks' Hall of Fame plaque for today's service, and the first line reads, "Established modern standard of excellence for third baseman." It's a phrase so profound that if you didn't know anything about Brooks, that pretty much says it all. It's impossible to sum up his excellence in the short time we have together today, but we're going to try. Mr. Orioles spent 23 seasons with the club, starting in 20 consecutive opening day games. He won the American League MVP in '64, the All-Star MVP in '66, and the World Series MVP in 1970. He's one of only 2 players to have won League All-Star and MVP awards, with former teammate and fellow Oriole legend Frank Robinson being the other. He also holds the record for most Gold Gloves by a position player with 16. The 18-time All-Star led the Orioles to 6 postseasons, including 4 American League pennants and 2 World Series. His defense was outwardly. As former umpire Ed Hurley once said, Brooks Robinson plays third base like he came down from a higher league. He's regarded as arguably the best third baseman the game has ever seen, and it didn't take long for the Orioles to retire his number 5. He homered in his first World Series at bat in 1966 when the Orioles swept the Dodgers to win their first title. But it was his performance in the 1970 World Series, considered among the best ever in the Fall Classic, that cemented Brooks' status as a Hall of Famer. While he put on an offensive clinic, it was his defense that shined brightly. He reportedly stifled Cincinnati with his plays at third base time and time again, making stops so often that Reds player Lee May asked, "Where do they plug Mr. Hoover in?" That led to Brooks' nickname, the human vacuum cleaner. Along with Frank, Brooks was elected to the then newly created Orioles Hall of Fame in 1978 as its first inductee. He was shortly thereafter elected to the National Baseball Hall of Fame in 1983. With 92% of the Baseball Writers Association of America voting him in, becoming only the 14th first ballot inductee since the inaugural class in 1936. He served as an analyst. I got to work with him on Oriole television broadcasts from 1978 through 1993, then returned to the Orioles organization as a special advisor and community liaison in 2018. But what we remember most about Brooks is not just his talent on the field, but rather that person he was off it. He was a true gentleman who radiated kindness. He embodied the meaning of the Oriole way, and his non-statistical awards eclipsed all of baseball honors. In 1972, he was the second person after Willie Mays to receive the Commissioner's Trophy, now known as the Roberto Clemente Award, given annually to a player who best represents the game of baseball through extraordinary character, community involvement, philanthropy, and positive contributions, both on and off the field. He also received the Lou Gehrig Memorial Award in 1966, the American League's Joe Cronin Award in '77, and the Bob Feller Act of Valor Award in 2020, all recognizing his incredible character and service. The late Gordon Beard, a writer for the Associated Press who covered the Orioles, once said, "Brooks never asked anyone to name a candy bar after him. In Baltimore, people name their children after him." You know what? We might have a few today, so we ask those in attendance who are named Brooks to please stand right now. We have one right here. Look at there. There's one. There's another. We have some Brooks with us. I was doing a game with Brooks, and a friend of mine who was a coach for the New Orleans Saints sent a message up through an usher, could he come upstairs to see us? He came upstairs. I think he was happy to see me, but he was more happy to see Brooks, his idol, and he introduced his 12-year-old son to Brooks. His name, of course, was Brooks. He, too, was named after Brooks. Just a small sample size of the number of people named after Mr. Robinson, and it's incredible to see the impact he's on people of all ages and backgrounds. Despite Brooks being removed from the game for 46 years before he passed, he still carries the affection of our city and the entire baseball world, and we know his legacy will continue for generations to come. Brooks Robinson was a Hall of Fame human, and today we pay tribute to that historic career and legacy. In '82, the Major League Baseball Players Alumni Association created the Brooks Robinson Community Service Award, given annually in his honor to a current or former Major League player, coach, or manager whose community service exemplifies the unselfish and humble attitude of Brooks Robinson, bettering the lives of youth of his community. We're thankful to have MLBPA Board Chairman Jim Hannon and MLBPA President Jim Thome with us today. Thanks for being here with us, guys. Jim. This morning, we're going to hear from a wide variety of folks who knew and loved Brooks. We're privileged to also be joined today by Orioles past and present, including some of Brooks' former teammates, as well as dear friends like Ron Hansen sitting back here. A quick story on Ron. Brooks and I were doing a game somewhere, and I said to Brooks, hey, Brooks, if baseball, like football, had presenters for the Hall of Fame, who would you have selected? And he didn't hesitate. He said Ron Hansen. Ronnie, you've been a great friend for years. Rick Dempsey, World Series MVP, and as big a Brooks Robinson fan as you're going to find. And great Hall of Famer, the greatest Oriole pitcher of all time, current broadcaster, Jim Palmer. Jim told me when he became an Oriole, he was a teenager and he looked around and said, who do I want to be like? And the more he saw of Brooks, the player, the man of character, he decided he wanted to be like Brooks Robinson. Glad to have you with us today, Jim. We're also especially honored to have members of the Robinson family here with us today who have come from all over to honor their father, grandfather, and beloved Brooksy. As we begin, we invite Brooks David Robinson to say a few words about his father on behalf of the Robinson family. Brooks?
Well, I am honored to be leading off today. Thank you all for coming out here. It's a beautiful day. My family is so appreciative and overwhelmed by the outpouring of love and affection that you have shown my father over the years, and especially these last several days. Little did my dad know that when he signed his first Major League Baseball contract in high school in 1955, that he would be engaging in a love affair with this organization and the city of Baltimore that it would endure almost 70 years. I know right now he is in heaven, looking down at this with a huge smile, basking in the Oriole magic that is all around this park. When you look at number 5 on the warehouse wall behind me, I want you all to know that that is there because of you, the fans, or as my dad would call you, his friends. You provided the fuel that helped him make him become the person that he was, the icon that he is, and the legend that will live on forever. Rest in peace, Dad. We love you. We will miss you. And if there's anything you can do up there to help bring another World Series championship to Baltimore this year, we would greatly appreciate it. Thank you and God bless.
Hey, man. Thanks, Brooks David. I know Dad's proud of all you guys. And we're going to hear from the next generation. We'd also like to invite Brooks' grandchildren, Grant Farley and Brooks Farley, to the podium to say a few words about their grandfather.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brooks Farley, and I am Diana's second daughter. First, I just want to sincerely thank everyone who came out today to show love, appreciation, and respect to my grandfather. Everyone knows him as number 5, but I know him as Papa. I never truly understood how special it was to be named Brooks. I always complained to him that everyone thinks my name is Brooke, and I wish I didn't have a boy's name. But now more than ever, I'm honored to be named Brooks. When I was younger, I didn't comprehend the love that others had for Papa. We would be out to dinner, and fans would come up to our table and shake his hand or ask to take a photo with him. At Grandparents' Day in elementary school, I would drag him down the hallways, not letting him stop and talk to each person who wanted to meet him. I didn't understand what I do now, that Papa was not only loved by my family for being the best father and grandfather, but also by the community for being their hometown hero. Papa taught me how to be humble, how to treat every person with kindness, and how to lead with a smile. I will forever be grateful to have felt his love. Papa followed the Orioles every day, from being a player, announcing at the games, to watching the game on the TV from his couch. I know he's got a huge smile on his face watching us win the AL East. My grandfather lived an incredibly charmed life, fitting for the king of Charm City. He was surrounded by love and affection far beyond the baseball diamond. He treated everyone with kindness, compassion, and curiosity. Having a conversation with Papa made you feel like the most important person in the world. Heaven received an angel and a hell of a third baseman. No matter your relation to my grandfather, we are all better to have known him. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Grant Farley, and I'm very lucky to call Brooks Robinson my grandfather. It's my lifelong idol and my greatest hero. Words can't begin to describe how much I look up to you. From the moment I started playing Pee Wee football till the last moment you saw me play, you were always my biggest fan. He never missed a chance to let people know how proud he was of me and that I was his grandson. No matter what was going on in my life, Papa was the most devoted and supportive grandfather that any person could ask for. He made me feel so special, just like he made millions of others feel. The countless stories of you going out of your way to make people's day was a testament to your humility and the kind of man you were. You taught me how to lead by the example of by treating others with compassion through your grace and kindness. Everyone wanted to be like you, including myself. My sole mission in life has always been to make you proud, and I will continue to live on by the example you have set for me. If I am able to be just 1% of the man my grandfather was, I would consider myself a lucky man. You will be missed beyond measure, but I know you're up in heaven smiling down upon all of us. I love you, Papa.
Now please direct your attention to the right field warning track, where Mr. Oriole himself, accompanied by his granddaughter Lucy, is now making his way around the field in a 2020 Ford Mustang convertible, courtesy of Al Packer's White Marsh Ford. Please give a warm Oriole Park welcome to the man of the hour, Brooks Robinson. Brooks for all he's done for the organization and the city of Baltimore, the Orioles team is here to present him with a base signed by the 2022 team. Thank you, Mr. Brooks. We thank Brooks for joining us tonight, and we thank you fans for joining us to celebrate Thanks Brooks Day here at Oriole Park.
I think Brooks did more laps in cars than A.J. Foyt. It seemed like we always had something special going on with Brooks doing a lap in a car, and we never got tired of it. Our next speaker is the man who was tasked with the impossible. He had to follow the legend. He handled it with the utmost class and great production, and moreover gave us one of the great moments in Orioles history. In September of 1977, with nearly 52,000 fans packing Memorial Stadium for Thanks Brooks Night, he uprooted the third base bag, ran over, and presented it to Brooks. The perfect gesture extended to the near-perfect third baseman. Please welcome Orioles Hall of Famer Doug DeSenses.
Thank you. Why do we honor this man today? Is it because he was a Hall of Famer? Or was it because he played 23 years here in Baltimore? Or was it because he had 16 Golden Gloves? Or is it because he was the MVP of the league and the World Series? Or all the other wonderful accomplishments that he did on the field? All those are well worthy, each by themselves. But for those of us who really got to know him, I believe we are here because of the gracious man that he was. If you ever had the opportunity to just say hi in passing, you were greeted with a smile that was big and his eyes were grateful, because he showed his gratefulness of just being recognized. He was more unassuming and down to earth than any superstar that I ever met. For all of us that had the pleasure of being a teammate with Brooks, we knew he was the ultimate gamer. He was a leader, but more importantly, he was a friend. I truly enjoyed our friendship, and I was always be grateful to have been able to watch Brooks and learn from Brooks. Even though I was the guy that was tagged to try and replace him at that position, which was a tremendous honor in itself, he always was there. When I asked him at one time, I said, "Why do you move your feet the way you do at third? It's different from others." And he then the next day showed me why it was important for him. It gave him more range at third, and I quickly learned to adapt and follow that. And to this day, I still talk to young baseball players. I teach that because I'm shocked that I don't see it more often, because his footwork was different, but it allowed him to get balls down the line. It allowed him to get balls in the hole, and it allowed him to be able to charge, to barehand a ball and throw them out. All those things were awesome as a young player to learn. When asked, what was the major accomplishment of my career? My answer was that I was chosen to attempt to fulfill Brooks's shoes. A very large and unreachable task. But I survived the criticisms, the comparisons, and played a long time for this great organization. I always remember and always felt that when a young player came up, that it was upon my duty to follow what Brooks did for me. And with that, I would always be grateful. I reminded every time that I sit at my desk at home. There's a picture behind me. And that picture shows Brooks, and behind him was Connie and Diana, and myself giving that third base to Brooks on Thanks Brooks Robinson Day. The thing I whispered to him, I said, "This bag will always be yours." And I handed it to him, knowing that it was impossible to replace somebody as great as he was. Another thing that I try to do is that I try to teach young players to be gracious against their opponents and to be gracious to all others and family members who support you to be out there playing the game of baseball. I thought Brooks was always over and above the most supportive guy. I can remember times when Earl Weaver and I didn't see eye to eye. And Brooks would always pull me aside and he goes, "Don't listen to that, you're doing a good job." But when you think of Brooks, think of the greatness he was as a player, but also the great qualities he had and what a gracious giver he was off the field. Brooks Robinson is and was and will always be a true champion. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Like Brooks, our next speaker won 16 consecutive Gold Gloves. 14 times he shared a Gold Glove season with Brooks. His playing career spanned 25 years and 283 wins, followed by a long broadcasting career. And he followed Brooks as president of the MLB Players Alumni Association. Please welcome National Baseball Hall of Fame pitcher Jim Cott.
Jim, thank you. Thank you very much. On behalf of the Major League Baseball Players Alumni, and now 20,000 or more members, I'm here to extend our sincere condolences to Connie, Michael, Chris, Diana, and the entire Robinson family. I first met Brooks in 1962 at the All-Star game in Chicago. And I called him Brooks and he called me Jim. For the next 60 plus years, I called him Brooksy. He called me Kitty Cat. How you doing, Kitty Cat? How you doing, Brooks? I'm doing fine. Of course he was. He was always doing fine. Brooks was a humble, genuine, and sometimes inconspicuous superstar in our game. If the scouting report came out on Brooks, power, speed, arm, he probably fit in the average category. But Brooks had skills that you couldn't measure. Doug referred to some of them. Fast reactions, lateral movement, great footwork, and somehow he had the ability to transfer the ball from his glove to his hand. I don't think I ever saw him pick up a ball barehanded. And from all kinds of body angles, he could throw the ball over to Boog and get him by a step. It was magical to watch. He was not an imposing figure in uniform. He wouldn't fit the profile of today's players, which incidentally I'd like to say, because I know some of the current Orioles are here and want to congratulate them on their East championship. I hope you go a little farther. But I think today's players, without a doubt, are the most physically equipped and imposing players in the history of our game. But Brooks did it without that, and boy, could he play baseball. And play he did. 14 seasons he played over 150 games. 5 of those he played every game. And that 1970 World Series you referred to, which was kind of his coming out party, he probably played 170 games that year. And we hear a lot about his fielding ability. You don't hear enough about his hitting. So I'm here to tell you from personal experience, I faced Brooks Robinson more than any other hitter in my career. And he got more hits off me than any other hitter in my career. And as Jim Palmer and I talked this past week, he had the ability, particularly against me, to find the middle of the ball with the barrel of the bat, no matter where I threw it. And as Jim said, winning run on ninth, winning run on second, bottom of the ninth, you want a single to center, Brooksy's your guy. He'll get it. And you know, usually when a hitter has that kind of success against a pitcher, you want to make him move his feet, take away some aggressiveness, maybe even throw it up in here, push him off the plate. I couldn't do that to Brooks Robinson. He was the face of our game. I thought if I knocked him down, it'd be like knocking down Santa Claus or Mother Teresa. But I paid the price for it. Brooks was the ideal person to take over as president of our alumni. I was the president in the few years in the late 80s. Brooks was the president for 33 years. And when we had 600 members back in the late 80s, we now have over 20,000 members of the Major League Baseball Players alumni. And I think a lot of that is because when the fans saw Brooks Robinson is the face of this organization, I want to be part of that. So I think we're very indebted to Brooks' tenure with the Alumni Association. And for his family, we're here for them too. I know my wife Margie, we were so honored to sit with Brooks and Connie at the Rawlings Gold Glove Awards dinner for many years. And Margie has said to me on more than one occasion, Connie Robinson is the most beautiful and lovely woman I've ever met. I think there's thousands here that probably feel the same way. So in closing, I want to say, Brooksy, if you were standing right here, this is what I'd like to say. Obviously, you were important to the Orioles. You were important to the city of Baltimore. You were very important to the game of baseball. And I don't think it's a stretch to say you were important to our country. Not because of the way you played the game, but because of the way you lived your life. Thanks, Brooksy.
That was great, Jim. Jim mentioned some Orioles present. I'd just like to recognize these guys that we've been cheering for all year and that have given us such a great season. You please stand up. Grayson Rodriguez, Tyler Wells, Kyle Gibson, Ryan Mountcastle, Kyle Bradish. Thanks for the thrills, and there's more to come. As you just saw in our last video, our next speaker helped pull the curtain on Brooks' statue out in Legends Park. Our next speaker grew up with a front row seat watching Brooks' Hall of Fame career on the field and saw what he meant to Oriole fans and our community off the field. He too would thrill us with a Cooperstown career and a Brooks-like connection with our city of Baltimore. Please welcome National Baseball Hall of Famer, the Iron Man, Cal Ripken Jr.
Brooksy was my man. I'm sure that's how most kids who grew up in and around Baltimore felt. We all looked up to him as a great baseball player, which he was, but his greater influence on us came in the form of a role model. He was baseball's gentleman on and off the field. My mom and dad encouraged me to be like Brooks. You might think it was for the way he played, but it wasn't. It was for the way he handled himself and treated others, and for the way he represented the team and the city. We were so lucky to have him to look up to and try to model ourselves after. When I made my debut for the Orioles at third base, I felt like I was on sacred ground. This is where Brooks made all those diving catches, made barehanded pickups, and celebrated world championships. This is where he played his whole career. I'm very proud that I had a long career with the Orioles, just like Brooks. And when you play that long, you start to hear from your younger teammates things like, what was it like to play against Babe Ruth? Which reminds me, one of my favorite stories about Brooks Robinson was at the end of his career when he hit a home run off this young pitcher. And while Brooks was running around the bases, he said, "Don't feel bad, I hit one off your old man too." Of course, I never played against Babe Ruth, but I would have loved to have been teammates with Brooks. I missed him by a few years. But in many ways, growing up watching Brooks, learning from him, there are a lot of us that feel we were already on his team. I will miss him. We will miss him. But he leaves us with so many great memories that will live on. Thank you.
All right, I just missed one. One went through my legs. We have some additional Orioles that I'd like to recognize on this side. I saw the guys over here. Please stand. Adam Frazier, Ryan O'Hearn, Aaron Hicks. I think Coach Holmes is over here too. Brian Ebel. Good to have our Orioles here, part of this celebration of Brooks's life. Thanks, Cal. We now invite a former teammate of Brooks to the podium, the American League Rookie of the Year in Brooks's final season. In 1996, he joined Willie Mays and Hank Aaron as the only players in Major League history with 500 homers and 3,000 hits. Please welcome another Baltimore icon, National Baseball Hall of Famer and Oriole legend, Eddie Murray. They remember you.
Thank you. Well, I know everybody pretty much got the same thoughts on Brooksy, how nice he was and how he was gracious and everything. He really was, I tell you. My first year was his last year, and this relationship took on a funny way. I must tell you how it was. Lee May and Elrod Hendricks had to tell Brooksy, this kid's okay, he's really a nice kid. Well, he won't say nothing to me. Well, Brooksy would walk by me and he'd say, "Hey, how you doing, Ed?" "I'm doing good." That was it. That was all he got. So finally, he makes me sit down for 2 minutes. And he starts to talk to me. And I'm listening to him. Okay, I got you. Now, Brooksy brings his daughter, I must tell you this, he brings his daughter onto the field. Diana. Well, anyway, Diana's here, and somehow she misled Brooksy. And I'm just talking about the many faces that you didn't see. I got to see a different one, almost got to see it. I caused it. Well, I had just started playing video games. So Diana's talking to me on the field about video games. Well, I just started playing. I think I'm good as I'm going to be. Well, turns out she talks me into coming by and picking her up. Now, she did check with Brooksy on this. So we got this 21-year-old man driving up to the house to pick up his daughter and a friend to go to the arcades. Now, I find out later that he wasn't all cool with that. So I'm wondering if he left. As I drove out of the yard, he peeks out of the window like Macaulay Culkin and looking to see if I'm coming. You know, he hopes that I'll come back. So I came back. So everything was really pretty good, but that was misled a little bit. Now, the second time, he brings Diane on the field again. Now, I'm wondering, where is he, the other brothers? I'm left. Brooksy's hooked up on talking to the media. And I mean, he totally forgot her. And I'm standing here and the sharks from the other dugout are starting to hoover around Diana. And now I said, I guess this is up to me. So I have to go over and say, hey, this Brooksy's daughter. And I have to try to tell them how old she is. I find out finally. So she was pretty big for her age. So I go over and I run the sharks off. So now what ends up happening? Oh, no, this isn't funny, Tony. You wait till you get a girl. So this is going on. So the second time, I'm telling you, she was such a lovely girl, but I'm wondering where the brothers are to protect her out here on the field. I don't need this job, but the brothers are nowhere in sight. But Brooksy, seriously, was an awesome guy for me. You know, we finally really got to talk. And when you people here in Baltimore have a shortage on crabs, and you got Brooksy and Brooks Robinson and Lee May to thank for me putting damage on the city here of Baltimore for eating crabs. There was one day I ate 6 days out of 8 days, nothing but crabs. I go home for a physical. I'm laying there, they take my blood pressure and everything, and everybody's starting to come in my room. Then they lay me on the table and they put the patches on me. I say, how you feel? I said, I feel great. Well, go back to the treadmill. So I go back to the treadmill. The two guys at the door come back and they're behind me, like to catch me off the treadmill. Well, the next thing you know, I said, hey, something's up. What's up? And they said, well, Ed, your blood pressure is just stupid. It's really up here. And I go, oh, I'm sorry. I said I eat crabs 6 out of 8 days in Baltimore. So, you know, that's where all of that stuff came from for me to come up. But Brooksy was seriously, I'm going to miss my eating buddy. I'll tell you, when I come into town, that's what we did. We ate crabs. And the last time we had to go to a restaurant and he had a crab cake. He couldn't put the crabs away. It didn't have the speed of it, but that was my man. And he's just like everybody else. He was really a great human being. My family loved him, and that was the thing. When people came to LA, my family, my father prepared ribs. There was other things that were prepared. Jim probably still missing half of a shoulder rub because Ralph Salvon left him. He would be rubbing his shoulder and they said, Eddie's here. And Ralph would leave. And Jim was sitting there with oil on him, you know, but that's just how it was. But this was really one of my best friends, and I'm going to miss him because I'm telling you, I'm going to miss eating with him, and I got to eat with him the last time I came to town. And thank you, Connie, and thank you, the rest of the Robinsons. Hey, this is some kind of man you have. He was a great man. Thank you.
Next, an MVP player, 4-time World Series champion manager, and a broadcaster. He's the only player to ever record 2,000 hits and win 2,000 games as a manager. Please welcome Special Assistant to the Commissioner, Joe Torre.
Good morning. Still morning, right? Yeah, we got it. First up, I just want to say that Commissioner Rob Manfred wanted to be here, but he could not make it today. But I know he made a statement, and I'd like to read it. All of us at Major League Baseball are saddened by the loss of Brooks Robinson, one of the greats of our national pastime. and a legend of the Baltimore Orioles. Brooks stood among the greatest defensive players who have ever lived. He was a two-time World Series champ, the 1964 American League MVP, and the winner of 16 consecutive Gold Gloves at third base. And I had the good fortune pinch hitting in 1970 in the All-Star game, and I hit him a very polite ground ball to third base. He didn't really have to work very hard on that one. He was a model of excellence, durability, loyalty, and winning baseball for the Orioles. After his playing career, he continued contributions to the game, working with the MLB Players Alumni Association. It will always be remembered Brooks as a true gentleman who represented our game extraordinarily well on and off the field of all of his life. On behalf of Major League Baseball, I send my deepest condolences to the Brooks family, his many friends across our game, and to the Oriole fans everywhere. That's what the commissioner had to say. And he was extraordinary. I was a National League player my whole career, so I never really crossed paths very often. You know, spring training, some games, or like I mentioned, the All-Star game. But he was just fun to watch. You know, sometimes when you're watching somebody on the other team, you don't want them to do well, but you couldn't help but admire what he did, from even if we were in the opposite dugout. But he's given to the game so much, and you heard it in his Hall of Fame speech. He was so humble. He's a man of great character. Every time you were in his company, he made you feel like you're the most important guy in the world. And he's going to be missed. There's no question about it. He served also on the Hall of Fame Board of Directors for over 30 years. And it just wasn't that his name was on that list. He was very active because he cared about the game, and right to the end. I was very fortunate. As a 26-year-old, back in 1966, the State Department sent a group of players and former players over to Vietnam to visit the troops. And it was Hank Aaron, Stan Musial, Harmon Killebrew, Brooksy, and I was the low man on the totem pole, but man, did I admire that trip. And Brooksy took me under his wing. In fact, every time we saw each other, one of the two of us would start talking about those 3 weeks we spent in Vietnam. It wasn't always fun, but the troops appreciated our being there. And when you had a lineup of the guys we had over there, that was pretty darn impressive. You know, when you watch our game being played, and the players and these, of course, these players, I can tell you now that I'm no longer with the Yankees, I really admired the hell out of what you guys are doing. I can tell you that right now. Playing the game the way you play it, and I'll be a son of a gun. Looks like it's fun, isn't it? It's really terrific. I love it. I love baseball. It's been my whole professional life, and it always felt brand new to me. And you know, Brooks Robbins, as I said, we really got to know each other in Vietnam, and he's become a dear friend. And the last time I heard his voice was in July at the Board of Directors meeting. He did it on the phone. He's going to be missed. But let me tell you something. He has left an impression on so many people. And in doing so, he's changed so many lives for the better. he's still with us. You know, he may not be here in person, but he's with us in spirit. And what a life to look back on, and something to be proud of. And you know, it's ironic, isn't it? It's 2023, start the playoffs. You know, that's not even fair to the other teams that you have another player up there rooting on you. You know, it's sad that he's gone, but what a life to celebrate. And I'm just very proud to have been asked here to present something today. He was a great man, and I loved him very dearly. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. We're glad you could join us today. Our next speaker shared the field with Brooks for 14 years. These teammates were part of 4 World Series teams and a boatload of laughs and fun times. Please welcome former American League MVP, Orioles Hall of Famer, and most importantly, Brooks' dear friend, Boog Powell.
Hey guys. Oh, that feels good. As my friend Roy Clark used to say, that's like warm hands on a cold morning. If you're a cow, that's a wonderful thing. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here to remember a truly great man and one of my best friends, Brooks Robinson. I know it means a lot to the family, and I would like to pass along my deepest condolences to his dear wife, Connie, and the rest of the Robinsons. I've never been good at saying goodbye. It's really hard when you lose somebody that's close to you. Brooks was like a brother to me, but Brooks is playing the hot corner in a different league now. He's making the hard plays look easy. He was really good at that. You know, whenever he made a tough play and threw the ball to me in the dirt, he would just look over and smile. And I'm sure that he's smiling at us today. Brooks always got a lot of accolades for his fielding ability, and he surely was the best third baseman ever. But I always admired his work with the bat. Brooks was the best clutch hitter I ever played with. If the game was on the line, he was your man. When I came to the Orioles as a kid, right out of high school, my daddy and I showed up at my very first spring training game. We were both excited, a little bit scared, quite nervous, and we really didn't know what to expect. The first person we met was Brooks Robinson. He shook our hands, looked at my father and said, "Don't worry, Mr. Powell. We're going to take really good care of Boog." Brooks did just what he said he would do. He took good care of me. I mean, just look at me now. You know? From that day on, Brooks and I had a special bond, both on and off the field. Excuse me a minute here. There we go. Good times, bad times, family issues, liar's poker on the bus after the game. We shared it all. And he always had a dollar bill with 3 5s on it. And we got a big kick out of that, and we laughed a lot in the back of the bus after the game. Needless to say, there are just too many stories to tell and too many memories to share. So I'll close by saying that my friend Brooks was the kindest, nicest man I ever knew. He never turned down anyone for an autograph or a hello. I learned a lot by watching Brooks by the way he treated people. Like I said earlier, I'm not very good at saying goodbye. So I'll see you on the field again someday, Brooksy. I'll be ready for that throw, and we'll be smiling together. I love you, my friend. and miss you very much. Thank you.
Beautiful, Boog. By the way, Boog never won the Masters tournament. That's his Orioles Hall of Fame jacket. But he could have. It was 46 years ago that we held a Thank You Brooks Day at Memorial Stadium to congratulate Brooksy on his astonishing career. Today we say thank you, Brooks, again, for being a sensational representative of not only the Orioles, but baseball in general. Thank you, Brooks, for all that you did for the city of Baltimore. Thank you, Brooks, for being a friend, husband, father, and grandfather with limitless kindness. As this exciting Orioles team chases their postseason dream, they too remember. Several are with us today. John, great to see you here hosting this. The 5 hanging from the warehouse. The 5 in the grass right here in front of us. The 5 patch on the right sleeve of the team's uniforms. As Austin Hayes put it the other day, wouldn't it be great if we could win it all for Brooks? Brooks was MVP of the American League, MVP of the All-Star Game, MVP of the World Series. But to the endless Brooks Robinson fans like us here today, MVP will always stand for most valuable person. How lucky are we that Brooks passed our way? Thanks to all of you for honoring him today. Rest in peace, Brooksy, and God bless the Robinson family. We leave you with this video tribute.
We are here to honor the greatest third baseman in the history of the Orioles and baseball, Brooks Robinson.
Swing ground ball, third base side. Brooks Robinson's got it throwing from foul ground toward first base. It is in time. And the Golden Glove artistry of Brooks Robinson was never more apparent than on that last play.
Watch this play. Just a remarkable play. That's one of the best plays you'll ever see a third baseman make in a World Series game.
Would you believe that? This guy's in another world. I mean, he's unbelievable. Watch this play by Brooks Robinson. Look at that. The outstanding reflexes of what make a third baseman, and he has it.
He was generous, and he was humble, and as great as he was at his position, he understood his role as a baseball player. Give the fans everything you have, and then when it's over, give them more. This man is a man of grace and dignity and humility and honor, because Brooks Robinson honored the game not just by his play, but by his manner. Brooks Robinson will forever be remembered as a good man who did good for others, for whom celebrity meant little, but reputation meant everything.
Playing in the major leagues and being recognized at the Hall of Fame is more than any one human being could ask for. And yet I realize how many other blessings I can count in my life, all of which have contributed to me standing here before you today.
We all feel the same way. We have felt it all our lives. You've been the greatest hero a kid could ever ask for. And if we have the honor of thanking you over and over in different ways for the rest of our lives, then maybe this really still is the land of pleasant living.
Sometimes I get a question from someone about, what was really the highlight of your career? I mean, winning an MVP in a World Series and during the season and so on. I said, no, you know what? The longer I'm out of the game, I appreciate one thing. The fact that I played longer with one team than anyone in the history of baseball. I played 23 years with the Orioles, and believe me, it has come back tenfold to me.
Gordon Beard, a writer right here in Baltimore, once put it this way: some players are named for candy bars. People name their children after Brooks Robinson.
All you fans here, I don't like to call you fans. I like to call you friends.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your attendance today, and best of luck to the Orioles in their playoff pursuit. Have a great day, everybody.